Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to the offseason in Pittsburgh. I know it's not officially here because the Super Bowl is coming up next week. Well, actually in just about, 6 days from now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Steelers are in offseason mode and other teams are in offseason mode as well with some big, bold moves. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But first, I've got to welcome my great friend, Tony Defeo, my partner in crime on The Hangover. Tony, is your hangover, is it feeling better after the Steelers being ousted about 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've come to terms with it. It wasn't that hard for me this time around for whatever reason. Maybe it's the pandemic. Maybe it's my new job that's so all-consuming. But I've come to terms with it. My hangover is gone, and now I'm looking forward to a nice, peaceful off season, and hopefully we can have a great 2021 regular season.
And we're seeing our folks in the live chat. They're tumbling in from the Facebook side, from the YouTube side. We love having you. Remember, we can't do these shows without you, so thank you so much. Ryan O'Toole tells us, hey, my Monday is now complete. Thank you so much, Ryan. That makes me feel good. I don't know what's going on if like two old guys just here rumbling and stumbling through stuff and just babbling about the Steelers. If that's what makes your Monday, we're glad to do it. And you guys being on the show and you saying that makes our Monday. So thank you so much. We love everybody coming in here and joining us. And remember, I got to say this, when the Steelers are not playing, and they're not going to have a meaningful game until September. We know that. But when everybody is filing in on a Monday night to hear some kind of Steeler talk, that means that you are a true Steelers fan. You've got amazing black and gold blood coursing through your veins. So that just shows you a lot. Because there's a lot of people, Tony, that go away as soon as that last game is over, and they don't come back until, sometimes they come back during training camp. Sometimes they come back during the exhibition season, or they're not going to come back until the first real game is being played. So I love the fact that we've got diehards. We've got Bruce Willis here. We've got Steeler Bruce Willises in our live chat supporting us, and that is great to have a great Steeler family. And like Lumberzack94 says, BTSC family is year-round. He's got a great picture of family there. I love that in his avatar. So, that's true. And, your real family first, your Steeler family second, but we're glad to be a part of your Steeler family, and I love you all. So, Tony, how's everything going, my man?
Everything's great. Everything's great. I'm down 7 pounds in the last month, so I'm going to be ready for the regular season. I don't know if the Steelers will be, but I will be. How about you?
Well, I'm probably up 7 pounds. I was doing really well there. And then I started on the steroids. No, I'm not competing for anything. I hurt my shoulder. And now I think I'm going to have to ask for some more of them because after shoveling snow here in Maryland today, there was tons of snow today. My gosh. Yeah. And it's still snowing. And it has not stopped since very early on Sunday morning. It's now Monday night when we're recording this. I know it's probably the same for you in the Crafton area, right?
Yeah, we got about overall, I'd say about 6 to 8 inches, but it doesn't seem so bad because it came down in spurts, and it's been basically since yesterday evening. So we haven't been hit as hard as you guys, but any kind of bad weather in Pittsburgh, people go nuts. I don't know why they shouldn't go nuts anymore. We should be veterans, but people don't like the snow, and I can't blame them. The older I get, the more I want to be in Florida.
I got to tell you, my wife's the same way there, too. My man, Cree, says that they're getting 18 to 20 inches there in Jersey. And I got to tell you, I think we've got about 8 to 10 inches here. And the only time I want to have that many inches is when I'm talking about a hoagie from Jersey Mike's, like an Italian sub, something like that, or a meatball hoagie. That's the only time I want to really look at that. So I got to bring this up. I'm not sure what this is. Lumberzack wants us to start Tony, sit bad, and cut Jeff for no particular reason for the next season. Dave and Big Bro can coach. So we're all on the coaching staff now, and you're starting, Tony. What position? What do you think your position is?
It would have to be possession receiver. I mean, I wanted to be a running back when I was a kid, but I quickly found out that I couldn't do that. When I played midget football, I wasn't fast enough, even though I like to bowl people over back then. I tried tight end, couldn't do that either. So it would have to be possession receiver. So I'm ready to go, but probably not. I probably couldn't start. I could probably come in on third down and maybe pick up a couple of first downs during a game, but that's about it.
Oh, sorry. I got to tell you, I want to talk about that too, but I'm Sean Manahan, no snow in Lakeland, Florida. Thanks, Mean Joe says 2 inches in Kentucky, snow will be closed for a week. Terry Bradford, 75 degrees in beautiful Southern California. You know, I love California. I got to tell you, I love it there. One of my best friends in the world lives there. Since I was a young kid, I love getting out there any chance I get. Gosh, I love California. I do love it out east though. I'm happy and I'm fine with the snow, but I gotta tell you, I would really enjoy that weather now, especially after being out there and shoveling snow, and now my shoulder's not enjoying it. AJ says Florida man has entered the chat, and I gotta tell you what, my neighbors just moved to Maryland from Florida, and they're not used to this weather. And the little girl is 9 years old, and she's absolutely loving it. And they have a snowblower now, and they actually let me borrow the snowblower last time. I didn't want to ask them this time, but they're enjoying this. But that's their first winter here. I keep on telling them, yeah, give me 5 years. Let me know how much you love it then. Debbie Dickerson says there's a dusting in Virginia Beach. Odessa says no snow in Jacksonville, Florida. And I got to tell you, I love the Jacksonville area too. The only thing bad about Jacksonville is the Jaguars, and that's it. But Jacksonville's a really nice place. My wife loves St. Augustine, Tony.
Yeah, I've never been to Florida. I always wanted to go. I don't travel much. I'm a typical Pittsburgher, but if I had a chance, I would go to Florida and California. Those are the two states I really want to visit.
I have. So you've never been to California? Never
been out west.
I've been there a lot. I love it. I've been to Vegas. Oh gosh, Vegas is. I tell you what, that's a 2 a.m. I've got some legendary 2 a.m. stories from Vegas that I could tell you. You know, I almost got married in Vegas once.
What happened?
I knew her about 15 minutes, and it was daylight savings time, and we decided that we were going to get married. A ring was purchased. It never happened. Friends intervened. Mine didn't care. Hers did. Probably a good thing. It was right hangover. Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. It was right after my first divorce. Well, I've only had one divorce, but so I tell you what, Javier is from Vegas. He says, "Bad, come on down." You don't want bad in Vegas, man. I like I said, I have some legendary stories. That'll be from Tales from 2 a.m. So we'll work that in the off season somewhere. Lumberzack says, "Bad in Vegas." Oh boy, yeah. I gotta tell you, I am. I've calmed down quite a bit. I've been to a lot of bachelor parties in Las Vegas. When I watched The Hangover, the movie, not our show, when I watched that, I'm like, yeah, they kind of stole some of that stuff from us. There's no tiger, there's no baby, but I mean, but they could have taken some transcripts of some of our trips there. So let's just leave it at that. I want to bring up, I want to talk about the off season. And like I said, they're getting ready for a Super Bowl, but other teams are in off season mode with hires. Coaching hires. Now some trades have been announced. The Steelers are still working on coaching hires. Still don't have a quarterbacks coach, Tony. They do have an offensive coordinator. They hired from within. A lot of people, I think they're comfortable enough with that. They kind of knew that was going to happen. But the move that was made today to bring in Adrian Clem, let me rephrase that. They didn't bring him in. They promoted him, and once again, promoting a coach. And some people aren't loving that. Mark Mazzaros brings this up. Yeah, the offensive line coach hire is pathetic. Let's hire an assistant from a staff that was completely ineffective, which was our staff here, plus shady coaching past. should have been an outside hire. You know what? A lot of people on our BTSC Slack channel kind of agree with that. I don't know enough about Adrian Clem. I welcome him. I hope he does well. He is the offensive line coach, and I wish him the best. But when I saw that, I was just like, I don't know. Sometimes when the ship is going down, you get a completely different captain. And I'm not saying that about Mike Tomlin. I'm just saying in this situation with the offensive line, it needs wholesale changes. As far as a philosophy and coaching, I kind of wanted to see new blood in there like Mark does. What are your thoughts, Tony?
I mean, it's like I said last week, stuff like who the position coaches are, that's something that never used to be talked about as much, and people didn't really wring their hands over it. Now everybody's making a big deal out of it. I think it's more the talent than it is the coaching, as far as, people like Marquise Pouncey and Villanueva and DeCastro, they didn't figure out how to block. They just got old, right? And isn't it amazing that Kevin Dotson came in his rookie year and was maybe their best lineman? Did he get bad coaching? I don't know. I'm willing to give the guy a chance. You never know where your next great coach is going to come from. It's an offensive line coach. Munchak spoiled a lot of us. I think Mike Munchak's the greatest who's ever done it. And anybody else that comes along after him, people are going to be less than thrilled about. So I'm willing to give this guy a chance, and maybe he comes up with a whole new philosophy. Maybe he has his own way of thinking when it comes to coaching offensive linemen. You never know. I mean, he spent years in the league. He played on some Super Bowl teams with the Patriots. So let's see what he can do.
You know what? That is a great comment there. I like your philosophy there. And it's true, because when you are not owning the headset, when you are not the person in charge of the offense or of the offensive line, and you're an assistant, you might have some ideas that no one's taking seriously. I have a situation that actually comes into play there. So I'm glad I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reserve, even though I have already judged on this, I'm going to step back a little bit and say, yeah, you're right, Tony. Let's give him a chance. Yeah. And once again, if you don't know who we're talking about Adrian Clem. There's some, he was a running backs coach. Excuse me. He was an offensive line coach at UCLA. I saw the numbers on that. Not very good. There's a lot of thought that Eddie Faulkner, the running back coach, might be the run game coordinator, like Mike Munchak was, and the run game was really good when Mike Munchak was there as well. And remember, that was a guy that was a head coach in this league. Anyways, but this was about 20 years ago. Yeah, this was exactly 20 years ago, 2001. I was working for a rental car company, and I was a management assistant, and the acting manager got fired. Things just weren't going well. And so she was let go, and I was in line to go ahead and take over. And they said to me, they're like, yeah, I mean, we're going to bring somebody else in. We're not going to make it be you. And I'm like, I thought you were grooming me for this position. I have all these ideas of what I can do here. I just didn't have the opportunity to do it. They're like, well, we're going to make this move. And then I kept on going, and I knew the general manager, and I was talking to them, and the person making this decision. And he said, all right, I tell you what, this was a Friday. He said, I'll think about it over the weekend. He calls me back on Friday and said, all right, we're going to give you a shot. So within 6 months, we were in the top 5. And at one point we ended up being number 1 in the entire state. And it was just my philosophy that I just changed a few things and made them different. It wasn't wholesale changes, but I altered things that I thought would work that the other person wasn't going for. And next thing you know, here we are. And right. Then I was promoted to a much bigger position with the company. So, it does work. So maybe Adrian Clem just needs a chance to go ahead and have the reins of the ship. So, but they said the exact words to me was, sometimes you need to change the ship's captain. And I just said that earlier. And you know what? I didn't accept it when it was me on the other end of that. Adrian Clem shouldn't accept that. So welcome Adrian Clem. Even though people aren't excited about the hire, let's see what he could do.
I just think, I just think it's a social media thing. Everything gets blown up nowadays. Like years ago, they would hire assistant coaches, and then you wouldn't even know about it till the summertime. Now it's like everything's just talked about and blown out of proportion. I say let's give the guy a chance.
We absolutely should. Now, John says it might be a rocky offseason. You know what? It's true. But I remember a season that was supposed to be rocky in 1992 when Bill Cowher was coming in as coach. I remember Sports Illustrated saying that this is a 4-12 team at best, complete rebuild. And no, that was an 11-5 team. A couple years later, they're in the Super Bowl. John, you're right, though. It very well could be. But here's the thing. You make some tweaks. And I remember Art Rooney, too, saying just a couple of days ago that he would take this same roster and move it into next season. And I was thinking about that. That's easy for him to say. But I'm like, you know what, Art? You're probably right. Because I'm blaming the philosophy of the offense as a lot of the problems. I'm blaming a couple of things. But, you can't bring the same roster back. But if you could, a lot of these guys could be successful, and this could be a championship-winning team if it's run the right way on offense. Tony, am I right there?
Yeah, it's we talked about they were going to likely lose guys like Juju and Bud and all these other guys, and they would still have enough there to compete. So I'm not that worried, and it's still early. I mean, it's February 1st as we're doing this show, and they haven't even hit free agency yet. They don't, who knows what they can get in free agency. Look at how fruitful the last few draft classes have been. Look at how important they've been. So you don't know what's going to happen there either. So it's still early, and it's not a complete team yet, and we shouldn't panic just yet and think that it's going to be a horrible year just because of how last season ended. I think a lot of people are just reacting to how the last month of the season ended, and that's all they're going by right now. And I think we should just let the offseason play out. We'll obviously have a lot to cover between now and training camp, so who knows what could happen.
Javier just mentioned, the regular season schedule's murderous as of now anyway. Steeler Chick 46 says we have a brutal schedule next season. I'd like to talk about a team that had a very brutal schedule. It was a team from a few years back that they had the NFC East, which was very good. They had the toughest schedule in their team history at that point. And they went on to do something on this day in history. And on this day in history, that 2008 team won Super Bowl 43. So if you're looking back, if it's 9 o'clock and you're looking at 12 years ago at 2009, you've just finished basically watching Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, playing 12 minutes of Hungry Heart and Glory Days and Born to Run and those songs. You just remember watching James Harrison rumble into the end zone after an interception, and you're getting ready for Santonio Holmes to catch that game-winning touchdown. So they had the worst schedule the worst schedule in the NFL that season. It was brutal, and they overcame it. And when you look at the schedule this year, and in a lot of years, the tougher teams that the Steelers play, the better that they do usually. They don't get blown out against tough teams. Doesn't mean they're going to beat every single one of those tough teams, but they struggle more against the teams that aren't great.
Exactly. And we don't really know how tough their schedule is going to be just yet, because, the NFL is a parity league. It's a league where, how many teams make the playoffs one year and then miss them the next, so you just don't know. It looks tough on paper right now, and maybe it will be tough. And even if it is tough, I'm confident they can have a competitive team, but it might not be as tough as we think at this moment. There's plenty of time between now and September. And you don't know what these football teams are going to look like either.
And something I want to do before we take a break, and I want you to start getting your questions ready. I know some questions have already come in on the live chat, but Bad is kind of he's kind of one of those guys that doesn't multitask well. You could ask my wife. I'm not very good at multitasking, so we'll just go ahead and get your questions ready for the Q&A section after this part. But we're also going to talk about the Steelers and getting in on the craziness of the 2021 offseason. There was a huge trade yesterday. We're going to talk about that. But I want to talk about something that happened over the weekend that is actually devastating to Steeler Nation. And as Art Rooney II lost his mother this weekend, and the rest of the Rooney family lost the patriarch of that, the matriarch of that family in Patricia Rooney. And I got to tell you, I've read Dan Rooney's book a few times, and that was such a great family with Dan and Pat and their kids. Even when they had all the money in the world and they would go on these family vacations every summer in basically a station wagon, and they would travel somewhere and they would do it as a family. And when I'm reading Mrs. McCaskey of the Bears come out and talk about Pat, I'm reading all these people that are familiar with the Steeler organization of what a wonderful woman she was. And I had heard about it throughout the years. We lost her at age 88. And I just want to say rest in peace and Godspeed to the Rooney family for losing the matriarch of their family. And a big loss for the NFL, Steeler Nation, and humanity. So best wishes to the family. And once again, rest in peace, Mrs. Rooney. Tony?
Yeah, I mean, everything you hear about her and that entire family, nobody ever has anything bad to say about those guys. They're so down to earth. They're so accessible. Joe Green said it best about Art, about the chief. He you knew he was your boss, but he treated you like a best friend, like an equal. And I think that's how that whole family was, and that's how Dan was. That's how his wife was. And they were talking on the radio this morning that she would get more upset than Dan after a Steeler loss. So I thought that was pretty funny. And they raised 9 great kids, and to echo what I heard on the radio, and I think it's apt. If there was a king and a queen of Pittsburgh, it would be Dan and Patricia Rooney. I mean, that's how special and important they are to Pittsburgh, and she will be missed, just like Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was not aware of it when I was doing Tales from 2 a.m. yesterday with Big Bro Sco, Rich Schofield. It came across, I think Snowman put it across as a super chat, and I looked at it, and I had not known, because I did not look at anything before I started the show. And so it took me by surprise then, and I wanted to wait until today to talk a little more about it. So with that, let's go into our break. If you are here on Facebook or on YouTube, just stick around, stretch your arms real quick, and we'll be back just right after this. If you are checking us out on anywhere that you check out, whatever podcast you like to listen to, and all your favorites. And if we're one of your favorites, go on over to number 2, and we'll see you right after this on the Steelers Hangover. Welcome back to the Steelers Hangover. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Tony Defeo is here with me. All my great friends in the live chat. So many wonderful names that I am so familiar with. Some new names, too, that I will be very familiar with as the offseason really cements for me the fact that we have amazing fans that stick with the Steelers even when they're not playing football every single week. So it's really nice to have all of you in there. If I don't know you exactly right now, I know I'm going to know you, because the more that you go ahead and throw in your comments, the more that I know that I've got another great member of our BTSC family. So thank you so much. We absolutely love you. Tony, one other thing that I learned yesterday when I didn't prepare for the show, because Tales from 2 a.m. is a memory show, and we were talking about great Super Bowls and some just fun things to talk about. And you know what? So I came on looking that there was a big trade. It was the Detroit Lions. And I got to tell you what, the Los Angeles Rams, we talk about a ram and, I guess a sheep sheep are in that family, right? With the Rams?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, the Rams got fleeced, if you ask me. It's a good trade. But man, they have no problem giving guys away, giving draft picks away. They gave 2 away. I don't know when the next time they're going to have a number 1 draft pick, because they didn't have one last year because of the Jalen Ramsey deal. They gave away a number 1 last year and a number 1 this year. Now they're giving away 2 more number 1s. So it's going to be a long time before they have an opportunity to go ahead and pick number 1. But they're bringing in a franchise quarterback. But they kind of had a franchise quarterback in Jared Goff, and they're still giving up a lot of number 1s. Do you think the Detroit Lions just made one of the great one-sided deals in history here, or am I crazy?
I mean, it's a good deal for the Lions, but I mean, from what I understand from doing some reading on it yesterday, the Lions have to absorb so much of the cap hit, right? Or I'm sorry, the Rams have to absorb so much of the cap hit, and that's why or whoever had to absorb the cap hit. That's why the Lions were able to get 2 number 1 picks, because they had to absorb the Rams cap hit or his contract for Goff. Yeah, $43 million. Not a cap hit, but they had to absorb so much of his contract that they were able to get 2 number 1 picks. So for the Rams, I think it says that, hey, look, we think we have a complete team, and we're just going to go for it with this 32-year-old quarterback. He's going to be 33 in a few days. So we'll see what happens. I was surprised. I was shocked that trade went down, but you never know in the NFL, especially today's NFL.
He's really good. Stafford's really good. And Mark Tobin said that, the Rams got a great quarterback. He's absolutely right. He also says that Goff wasn't it. And, Goff did lead them to a Super Bowl 2 years ago, but, it didn't seem like they were doing anything last year and this year with him. It was just, maybe he wasn't making it, but I don't think the Lions need to run out and grab a quarterback. I think they could compete with Jared Goff as well. And plus, if you put some weapons around him, you've got a great opportunity. I mean, I would be really disappointed if the Lions went out and got another quarterback right now when they can go ahead out and get some amazing weapons for this guy. And there's receivers out there. They're going to have they've got some great picks. They're going to have some picks next year. I would stick with this guy, because remember, he's still a young quarterback in Jared Goff, and if you give him the talent, he could be pretty good too. Their problem is defense, Tyler W. says, and he's right. Maybe work on that defense as well.
Yeah, you have a young quarterback. He's kind of not really a reclamation project, because as you said, he was in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and he just kind of fell in hard times. He had a thumb injury going into the playoffs this year. So you try to build around him. You use those number 1 picks, and you try to build a team around him, both on offense and defense. That's what you do if you're the Lions. You don't draft another quarterback. That just wouldn't make any sense after you make a trade like that. I don't understand why you would even do that. So if you're the Lions, you have basically you gain 6 or 7 years on a potential franchise quarterback, and you try to make your team better around him.
Ezra says Goff was a Jeff Fisher draft pick. McVay never wanted him. That's very true too. So, there's so many things to talk about here, but I really thought the Detroit Lions made an amazing trade here. And, something that if you do get a chance to listen to, Jeff Hartman on Let's Ride in the last couple of days had a show saying, hey, what would a blockbuster Steelers trade look like? So that was just this morning. So check that out. It's a very good show as well. A blockbuster trade for 2021, which begs the question, are the Steelers going to get in on the craziness of what is 2021? Do you see the Steelers making a crazy move?
Not this offseason. I mean, after the last couple of years, I want to say yes with the Devin Bush thing, the trade on draft day a couple years ago, and of course Minka. That was a very un-Steeler like move, and signing Joe Hayden a few years ago when he was cut by the Browns. But I don't know. I don't see it this year. I think when it comes to the offseason, like free agency and everything, I think you look for them to make a bunch of Stefan Wisniewski kind of signings, not necessarily all offensive linemen, but valuable depth players, guys that maybe didn't get a chance to start for their old teams, coming here and maybe getting a chance to start at a cheaper rate. I think that's what you're going to see a lot from the Steelers this year. That's just my opinion.
You know what? And a lot of people in the live chat are saying, the Steelers don't do crazy. I don't see that happening. Mark said they don't. They never do and never will. I agree with that because when you bring up the Minka trade, that was a bold trade, but it was just a great move. Right. And I still love the story behind it, where Miami saw where Ben Roethlisberger got hurt for the year, and they had better offers on the table, but went with Pittsburgh for that deal because they thought they were going to have another top 5 pick.
Right. Yeah.
And the Steelers didn't give them one. They gave them 18 because they're the Steelers and they don't tank. And even though 8-8 was a horrible year in 2019 for Steelers fans, everybody thought that was just a horrible year. There's teams like Detroit that want an 8-8 year. There's teams like Jacksonville that would take an 8-8 year. And when Cecil Music says Steelers are one of the most stable organizations in NFL history, you better believe it. So you don't see them taking all these draft picks and throwing them at a guy. Everybody wants them to do that for Deshaun Watson. And, I would love to have Deshaun Watson. The problem is the price is too high when you have other people other moves that you need to make. And you kind of need those draft picks, and they've shown that they can build through the draft, even when they're picking late. That's the nice thing about the Steelers. They can pick late and build in a draft. True, they had to have a 5-11 season to go ahead and get Ben Roethlisberger back in 2003. And they had to have a very bad season in 1986 to get a Rod Woodson, to get draft picks like that. But now that they're willing to move up into the top 10 to get a Devin Bush. They might be willing to get up and move up into the top 12 to get a Trey Lance, to do something like that. And that is not a pick. That's not a trade that's going to kill you, because the Devin Bush trade didn't kill him. They brought in a great player.
Yeah.
And they did, as far as I'm concerned, they don't give up way too much. Another bold move that they made, the last time they made a bold move for a huge player, I'm not talking about the Minka deal, but Jerome Bettis on draft day, they gave up nothing. They gave up a 2 and a 4.
Right.
Is really what they gave up. And I think they got another pick back there. And they ended up getting a Hall of Fame running back. And so it was the Rams trash at the time, and it was the Pittsburgh Steelers treasure. And they really thought Phillips at the time. Why am I forgetting Phillips's first name?
Lawrence.
Nebraska. Lawrence Phillips. So you know what, they really valued him so much better, and that kind of blew up on him. So thank you, Rams for the bus, like Ezra says. But you know what? I don't see them making deals like that, but you never know what's going to happen. It's 2021. It's a different year. Is there any part of you that thinks that they might go and swing some kind of deal if they don't work things out with Ben Roethlisberger? Because if everything that Ben is saying is like, yeah, I don't care what I'm being paid this year, but if that doesn't end up happening and they do part ways, do you think they go after Carson Wentz? And like, before anybody jumps in and says, no, we don't want that guy, I'm just throwing out a name. Did they go after a crazy deal with a Deshaun Watson?
I think if they did do something, it would be very calculated, and it would be sensible for them. I've said all along that once Ben leaves, that they're going to probably draft somebody in the first round and try to use him to be the heir apparent and just throw him in there right away. But I could see them if they think they have a Super Bowl ready team, if they think they have an elite defense and they're just a veteran quarterback away, then I could see them doing what the Broncos did in 2012 and bringing in maybe a veteran that has kind of fallen off on hard times. Not that Peyton Manning fell on hard times, but he was cut and because they wanted to draft Andrew Luck, the Colts. So I could see them doing something like that. But I don't think it would be anything crazy. I don't think they're not gonna mortgage the future for Deshaun Watson, even though he would be a great addition. But like as you said, the price would be too high for him. You're talking 2 or 3 first-round picks, and you're going to be taking on a lot of his salary, which is kind of what's gotten them into trouble anyway. They can't build a roster because, in a lot of ways, because they have Ben's salary. So I don't see them going right back into that again. If they have to move on from Ben for whatever reason, they're going to either draft somebody or sign a free agent at more of a bargain kind of price.
So let's go ahead and get into the Q&A of the show. We're going to start it off with Sean Manahan, a great friend of the show. Is there going to be a training camp? Tony, I'll let you take this first.
Well, I think though, I don't know if it's going to be just like the ones that we're used to with thousands of fans attending St. Vincent College, but everybody's used to the quote unquote new normal. I know a lot of people don't like that phrase, the new normal. So if there is a training camp this year, it might not have fans, but I think it's going to be more normal than it was last year. I don't think it's going to be at Heinz Field. I think they're going to be able to logistically make it work and with protocols and everything at St. Vincent. And I think that'll be good for the team if they can do that. So yeah, I think there's going to be a training camp. Will there be fans in this a training camp? At this point, I would be surprised if there were. They might let a small amount of people in, but there will be a training camp this year.
Here's the deal. Yes, there's going to be a training camp because there was one last year. It does not need to be at St. Vincent. It would be awesome if it was at St. Vincent. Fans don't need to be there. The fans have really not having fans at training camp means nothing to the team. It really doesn't. Now, I had a debate with Dave Schofield, and I think Dave was as I look back on it, I think Dave was a little more right on this than I originally thought. But as far as having fans in the stands, it helps a whole lot more in regular season games. Do the Steelers need fans in the stands during preseason? Absolutely not. Not at all. They don't need to be fired up like they do in the regular season. They have to have a preseason schedule this year. And I think because they didn't have a preseason schedule last year, that a lot of things that hurt a lot of teams in a lot of ways. Now, I still think that that a preseason schedule without fans is definitely doable. And they know the benefit of having a preseason, but because they were able to have a season last year, there's no reason why they can't have preseason. They just got to do it smart. Right. And you take small to moderate steps to get back to where you were. And of course, things don't look the same. Things will get a lot closer to normal. I remember, and now this is a really, please don't take this the wrong way when I go through this comparison, but look at September 11th of 2001 and air travel afterwards. I remember flying to Los Angeles on October 11th of 2001. And this was right when we started having the scares, with things being mailed and with poison being mailed. And you had the anthrax scares. Everybody was wearing blue gloves. There was men with AK-47s. There were I could not go back to LAX. I had my buddy drop me off at a parking lot where I took a bus to go to LAX. I couldn't be dropped off right in front of the airport. Things got back to normal, but air travel has never been the same, but it's been altered. And now it's just air travel is normal to me. There's things that you can't do. There's things that you still can't do that you were able to do before 2001. But those changes have been 20 years in the making, and now it's, like you said, a new normal. It's
Right.
normal, and it's just like, yeah, you just don't do that, and everybody is used to air travel. This is another thing. People will get used to some of the changes. Some of the changes will go back to the way it was beforehand. We will be back to what we know in some cases, not everything, but that's
Right.
okay.
Right.
That's okay as long as everything is safe. So that's that is a long way around. Is there going to be a training camp? But yeah, I actually think there's going to be. This is not a question, but Joey Jr. says Packers Aaron Jones running back. I think that's the top running back free agent. And I was looking at running back free agents today. I'm getting ready for an article series where I take each position group and I just list, and I have some overviews on whether they would fit with the Steelers, whether they can afford them or not. Aaron Jones, don't know if they can afford him, but he is absolutely awesome. He's number 1 on that list. James Conner is ranked 12th in a lot of publications, and he's not even ranked in the top 10 there as far as a running back free agent. Your thoughts on that, Tony?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, he's shown so much in the past. His problem has always been health, and if he can stay healthy, he's a productive running back. And he was productive earlier in the year before the running game sort of just disappeared. So I'm not shocked. I mean, a lot of this when it comes to free agency, it's about timing, and if you can get a few teams interested in you, you can drive up your own price. So I can see him getting a decent deal, not a great deal, but I can see him getting a decent deal on free agency.
There's a lot of people in the live chat. There's some people that are saying, "Hey, bring back Connor," and I'm kind of liking to see that. I'm liking the fact that a lot of people are looking at it the way that we are. That scheme. I don't really think that that Connor is coming back, but I would take him back just like that, because I don't think he was the main part of the problem. I would still bring in a running back in the second round. There's some guys out there that I absolutely love in the second round. I could see that done. I'm still wanting to go an offensive lineman in the first. Sean Manahan gives us $5. When will we get to see Bill Cowher inducted into the Hall of Fame? I think that's going to happen this year. And from what I understand, in August, before the start of the preseason games, if they have preseason games, it looks like they are going to go ahead and have everybody inducted. And that's a lot of people. That's like 30 some guys, 33 some coaches, players, etc. Some will be posthumously, but they will still have a representative there accepting it for them. So I think we see Bill get inducted, Troy, Donnie Shell all at the same time. And I'm thinking that Alan Faneca is going to be standing there with those guys. I really think that this is the year. I would actually be shocked if it's not the year for Big Al. Yeah,
I agree. I think it's going to be a great summer next year when those guys get inducted. And you're right. If Alan Faneca doesn't get the call this year, then something's wrong. He deserves it. He was the best guard of his day. He was consistently the greatest guard in the NFL for close to a decade. I mean, the same thing kind of happened to Dermontti Dawson. He was the greatest center of his time, and it took him a while to get in. So I think it's about time that Faneca gets in. But yeah, next summer is when they're all going to get inducted.
So anyways, Ron Chess says bad Faneca has got to make it if he was a great offensive lineman, and he really was. No one says Faneca should have been in there before Mawai, and I agree on that. I kind of think it's happening this year. I think the national media has him is ready to put him in. We've seen guys like that take a long time. The one that I'm worried about the most is I still think it's going to take a few more years to get Hines in there, but yeah. I think Hines made a nice little jump this year to get to get a little closer. Hey, I know he made the top 25 this year. I would really love to see him get in there. He's probably has what, about 9 or 10 years of eligibility. He might go the Lynn Swan route and go in the last year of eligibility. And I know it took Johnny Stallworth a long time, and that was the only induction I've been to. John Stallworth's induction in 2002. Tom Vallejo says Steelers versus Cowboys Hall of Fame game this year. I think that's, I really think they announced it last year because they lost that game. That was just going to be moved to this year. So the Steelers would have, it looks like they're going to have 5 as far as that goes. So with that being said, Tony, we answered some questions here. We talked about the Steelers going forward. There's so much to talk about, and that's great. And we're going to continue to have things happening every single game, every single day, Tony. It seems like that's happening. Will the Steelers get real crazy? Probably not, but they're going to join in on in the fray somehow, and with a move that we just weren't expecting. And we're going to be here at BTSC to talk all about it, my man. Yeah,
I mean, you never know. I mean, it's certainly there's a lot of clamoring for that out there for them to do something, but you know, we'll just let it unfold. I mean, free agency doesn't start till March. You can still make trades, obviously. A big one just happened the other day, but I think with them talking to Ben and Ben being willing to come to compromise and make things happen as far as the finances, I think, you know, they're gonna let that domino fall first before they worry about doing other things. But yeah, there's some more moves for them to make.
Well, thanks so much, Tony. It's time to go ahead and get on out of here. For Tony Defeo, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. You could call me Bad. And you know what? Just when you think you've got all of the answers,
we keep changing the questions. See you next week.
All right. Thanks so much, Steeler Nation, BTSC fans. We love you.